Lingüística.
Hello, welcome. In this video, I'm going to start talking about some of the basics in Spanish phonology, and I will be making some comparisons with English in this version of the video compared to the Spanish version where I did not. And that's because English has more sounds, more vocalic sounds than Spanish, actually more sounds in general, which is probably why Spanish might usually have words that are of more syllables compared to English. English is very big into monosyllabic words. I mean, there's jokes about English speakers getting headaches when they pronounce words beyond a certain number of syllables, for example. I don't really remember the jokes, but some of you probably know some of them. But if we begin with the vowels, the first one is a. And this one here, for example, is just a, ana. So whenever you see a, it's just a, ana. No big deal, right? And if we use the International Phonetic Alphabet, this would be the symbol, right? Quite simple. And what happens here is your tongue, so imagine there's a vocalic triangle. So a vocalic triangle is just an imaginary triangle, and this is the motion of your tongue. So your tongue would go forward and up for E, which is I, drop a little and retract, so go a little farther back, and then A, and then A, sort of center and relaxed. And then O, it's going to go back and up a little, and then U, it goes up a little more, closer to your velar area. So I is going to be this bottom center position that we have. Now, English, this can be a challenge because if I were to spell this and ask your average English speaker to pronounce this, instead of saying Anna, an English speaker would probably say Anna. And notice Anna. So two different sounds. Spanish, it's just just Ana. And that's it. So that's one of those to work with. Once we get to this one, this is going to be E. That's it. It's just E. So we have, for example, meme, which is a meme. And that's it. Meme. E. Now, there's a challenge with this one and this one. So International Phonetic Alphabet, this is what we have. Now this one over here, we have, for example, lima, which is a citrus fruit. It's also capital of Peru, but it's lowercase, so it's going to be the citrus fruit. Here, this is going to sound E, right? So the very first one's going to be E. So notice, E. So what in English we call E, that is the sound of the letter I that we would say in English. So this is E, this is E. So meme, lima, or lili, for example. So your tongue is going to be farther forward and up for this one, right? And why is this a challenge for English speakers? Well, that's because we have some vowels in between. Right, very close. Yes, it's supposed to look like a 3. And this would be E as in beat. This is I as in bit. This is E as in bet. And this is bet. So keep those sounds in mind, as in this is proximal to this one, so we're probably going to use this one if we're English speakers learning Spanish. And we might use this one instead of this one, or maybe mistake it for this one. I don't know. Usually I would say we're probably going to use that for this one. And these are some of the challenges for English speakers learning Spanish. So keep that in mind. It's going to be just a normal E. So like feet, it's that same sound. So lima. And this is just going to be E, right? Meme, lerma. I would have to think of more words, but I could. Meteorito. I don't know, make some stuff up. Now, O, we have the following. O is usually going to be O. It's not O. Right, English, we love doing this. O. In Spanish, it's just O. So if we have something like this, this would just be loro. It's just O. That's it, right? Nothing special. International Phonetic Alphabet, we would have O, which is back mid. And that's what we have here. Rounded lips as well, right? O. In the case of U, we have, for example, Lulu. And we're going to have this, International Phonetic Alphabet. But we will have some changes here. So this is just O, always O. This is going to be U, just U, like ooh. Right? It's not or it's not It's not l. It's lulu. Right? But this is something that's going to happen. Now I'm going to cover these here. So this E, this will become a glide. Now a glide is a vocalic sound that glides into the next. It just slides into the next. So this is going to sound, say, similar to a Y perhaps, or in English J. And some of the examples are whenever the I is next to any other vowel, that's a mid or low vowel, it will sound like a glide unless it's stressed or emphasized. So an example of that would be this one. So this would be toward. So this is an A, right? Toward. So this is going to sound like this, hacia. Now, if you're trying to imitate the Spanish accent, right, in Spain, this will be a th, right? So hacia. And I covered this in the alphabet and in another video too, where I talk about ceseo versus differentiation. So whenever you see a C-I-C-E, just remember most people are going to pronounce this as an S. If you go to Spain, that's where you will hear the th, like th in the word thought. So hacia instead of hacia. So here this is going to become a glide, and notice this sounds like a YA. That is what it sounds like. Right? So keep that in mind. Now if we put a stress on it, this is going to now have its natural sound. So it'll be hacia. And that's how you divide it in syllables. So this is just 2 syllables. It glides. This one is 3 here at the bottom. And that's one of the differences. Now the whole concept of gliding in vowels doesn't just stop there. The O does it as well under one particular example. If it's before an A. So in Mexico, there is a state spelled like this. This is Oaxaca. Also, there's a type of cheese which you would use for quesadillas. It is delicious. It's one of the best cheeses for quesadillas. It's called queso Oaxaca or Oaxaca cheese. If you like American mozzarella does not even come close to Oaxaca. Oaxaca is by far better. And notice that I'm saying American mozzarella. I'm not saying mozzarella in general. For those of you who are thinking like mozzarella is a lot better. I like cheese that's made with buffalo milk. Well, American cheese is not. So it's different. I'm not really sure why we call it mozzarella. Maybe because the preparation is similar. That could be why. But anyway, Oaxaca cheese, it's the best cheese for quesadillas. If you have another cheese that you would want to recommend, please put it in the comments. It's definitely not American mozzarella. I'm just saying. But here, this O, this combination, this is going to sound wa. So think of English, the English W. This is the sound the O is going to make in front of an A in an utterance, right? It's just going to be Oaxaca. So it sounds like a W. Nobody says Oaxaca. It's just Oaxaca. So let's go ahead and spell these. And now that we have these, so the I will sound like a glide. And in the International Phonetic Alphabet, we generally spell the glide as a J, right? So just keep that in mind. And then the glide for this one, we generally spell as a W, which is the same glide as the U. So this will be similar to a W. And this happens to the U whenever the U is next to any other vowel. It doesn't matter. If the U is next to another vowel, it's going to be a diphthong unless it has a stress mark. So let me give you some examples. So here on the top, notice that the stress mark is on the O. So what this means is the syllable gets split here. This becomes a glide. So this is going to sound wo at the end. So actuó. The bottom, notice the stress. So this will divide here, here, and here. And this is going to sound uo. It's going to sound split. So this is what we call a hiatus. This is what we call a diphthong. Right? So diphthongs are when you have these glides right here. Right, so actuó. Now, to give you another example with the I, why not? I just wanted to use some names here. So notice we have Maria. So syllables go here and here. So there is a split. This will sound I, A, versus Mario. This is going to be a glide. This is going to sound like this. Oops, that's supposed to be an O. There we go. Mario. It's like yo. Think of yo-yo without the oo. Yo, don't do the oo. Right? It's just yo-yo. Mario. And these are going to be the basic phonological sounds. So the main thing to note is the following. The vocalic sounds in Spanish tend to be more clear, perhaps crisp, maybe than in English. If we are talking about the academic way of pronouncing things. And there's a reason why I'm saying this, and it's because sometimes in the Highlands, vowels are not really carried out. I'll give examples some other time in another video. But for now, let me just sum up. So imagine there's again, an imaginary triangle inside one's mouth. So this tracks the motion of the tongue. So the tongue goes forward up, and then it comes down a bit, and then E, so E. So just begin with the sound E, like a B, all the way to A. And you are going to cover this. You're going to cover all the sounds in between as well. Right, but Spanish, this is the one, that's the other, and then this one. So you can ignore these sounds in the middle, right? So we have I, E, A, O, U, Ana, Meme, Lima, Loro, Lulu. And then we have the glides, and the glides are going to occur, if it's for the I, it will occur whenever the I is next to any of the mid or lower vowels. So we have these three right here. The interesting thing is, though, if you mix the I and the U, the I will always have its natural sound and it will be E. The U will not. So what if you want to create the opposite? Well, you spell the I as a Y, and that's what happens in final position. So if we have, for example, muy, very, we will spell it as a Y. And that's what happens. So you will not see this, because this would emphasize that the I is the natural sound and this would be a glide, and that's not the case. An example of this is actually fui. So I went. So this is a we. So yo fui. I went. So this is something to keep in mind. So the U will always be the glide next to any other vowel if it does not have a stress mark. If it has a stress mark, it's going to have its natural sound. The I is always going to have its natural sound unless it's not stressed, doesn't have a stress mark, I should say, next to any of these three. All right? And to give you an example, wrong one. we could have rey, which is king. So if the I is a glide and it's in final position, we always spell it as a Y. Now, some people are tempted to spell, so this is king, are tempted to spell queen this way, reina. And you've probably seen people spell their names this way. I don't know why. But the modern spelling is this way. And the reason why is because it's not final position and it's next to a consonant. So usually, if it's next to a consonant, you cannot have a Y. This is the reason why when conjugating verbs or verb forms, we might have a different spelling norm. So let me give you an example. If I am reading, we would say estoy leyendo. So normally you would take the verb, for example, leer, you replace the suffix with yendo, which would give you leyendo. And here, by looking at this, anybody would pronounce this right, even though it's orthographically incorrect. And the reason why is you cannot have a glide, that's an I, spelt this way between vowels. So if you have an I between vowels and it's a glide, you have to spell it with a Y. This is the reason why in many textbooks, leyendo is categorized as an irregular form, although it's not irregular because the pronunciation is regular. The spelling just uses a different norm. So maybe the spelling's irregular? No, it follows the rule. This is just the way it works. So keep this in mind. And O, so now to cover O, just remember O, that is only whenever it's in front of an A. So if it's in front of an A, then it's going to sound as a glide. So it will sound just like that, as if it were a U. This being said, I hope this was useful. Again, I'm going to have some other videos. I'm going to touch upon consonants. The next group after this video will be B's, V's, as those are pairs, D's and T's, those are pairs, and then G, which goes through something similar phonologically as D's and B's and V's do. So, this being said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Telelingüística.